Hello all, and welcome. I hope you're all staying safe from COVID, and I also want to reach out specifically to my Black followers and those who are on the streets protesting, and let you know that I hope you're staying protected while advocating for civil rights, and that my Black followers are taking care of their mental health during this time. Today, I want to write something about Black women in fandom spaces. For those of you who don't know, today is Breonna Taylor's birthday. If you're not sure who she is, she was a Black woman murdered in her own home by police officers. She was murdered for absolutely no reason, and as of now, no officers have been charged. I've included links and petitions to her cause below. I think it's important to remember that while supporting the Black Lives Matter movement is important, supporting Black women and Black trans women is just as important. And that starts with supporting Black women where you're able to. For many of us, this means fandom. Therefore, I want to use this opportunity to discuss how you can support Black women in your fandom. This is going to be a very concise, brief list, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. The negative treatment of Black women in fandom is not something that's new. In fact, such treatment is intensified when Black women generate discussions of racism within the fandom and the source material. As a Black girl nerd, I've had my fair share of anti-Black experiences and misogynistic experiences when discussing racism in Tolkien's world, and I expect to deal with it for as long as I continue to speak on the racism in Tolkien's world and in his fandom. I could write a book on my experiences, provide names and evidence as to why navigating through fandom as a Black woman is so hard. I've also never been outwardly harassed by cishet white men. It's always been white women or women of color who are associated with white men, and lastly, queer individuals that are not Black. Perhaps since I'm now on Twitter, this will be different. And in Tolkien's fandom, where fans believe that Professor Tolkien's culture nor his time influences writing, and where the fandom in general has a very adamant view on erasing characters of color, existing as a Black fan is almost impossible. I've watched my fellow Black women abandon fandoms due to this, and watched actresses and actors be harassed by racist fans. To repeat, being a Black fan and a fandom is not easy, and as racial tension intensifies, it's not going to get any easier. So below, I want to discuss ways that fans can be allies to Black fans, especially Black women. So here are some, again, short, concise ways that you can help Black women in the fandom. You can support us by following us, sharing our content, and engaging in our content. When you follow us, share our stuff, and engage in our content, not only does it provide us with an audience, but it also generates a conversation. The reason why so many traditionally white fandoms are ignorant of racism in the source material and in the fandom is because there's no one really generating a conversation. And that's not the fault of people of color already existing in the fandom. White fandoms make it a very unsafe place for fans of color to express their opinions and attitudes towards racism. So when you engage with us, this allows us to generate conversation. It allows for people to be educated in ways that they previously hadn't been. It allows you all to peek into our existence and the fandom and examine how you may or may not have contributed to that in the past, and examine how you can move forward. We can't do anything without follower interaction, so we depend on you all to keep our conversations going. Boost our voices. This means sharing our content, reblogging and retweeting. Getting our content out there, again, spreads it to a wider audience and makes more people aware of us, just not as people who are critical of fandom racism, but it gives us visibility as Black fans. This makes other Black fans comfortable and more inclined to join our fandoms. Defend us from fans that are being blatantly racist. In the Tolkien fandom in particular, there's a tendency for racist fans to cluster together. It seems that when you know one, you start to notice them all. That said, there are fans that aren't necessarily racist that do follow these people. If you know them, you know them. I'm not saying to stop following fans who are racist, though I actually kind of am. I'm just asking you to call them out, especially when Black fans aren't there to defend themselves, or when they are defending themselves and no one is helping. If you belong in circles where racism is prominent, make a difference. Be that difference. And if you're too anxious to call them out, just unfollow. Stop supporting them. Lastly, it's okay to disagree. I've had people disagree with my interpretation of Tolkien's work before, which is fine. It's just how you disagree. There's a difference between interacting with a blogger of color and admitting you can't see where they're coming from but trying your best to understand, and being flat out upset that you act like a child and go make vague posts about them. I almost had a book club started behind my back with the sole intent of disproving my theories of Tolkien and racism. Don't do that. Don't be that person. There are respectful ways to disagree that don't mean vaguing about a blogger or blowing it out of proportion. And lastly, just listen to us. Well, lastly, just listen to us. It's plausible that you won't understand my experiences of racism because you didn't grow up how I did. That said, I urge you to listen to what we have to say about our experiences. Don't negate them because you haven't experienced them. Don't try to disprove of them just because you haven't experienced them. Just listen. And ask questions, of course, but just listen first. And that's pretty much all. I invite other Black fans to share their tips. As I said below, I've included the links to Breonna Taylor's petition and donations to her. Feel free to subscribe to my channel and follow my Twitter and Tumblr. Until next time, see you, and don't forget Black Lives Matter.